Welcome back to Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip. Hosted by me, Ashley. Join me as I deep dive into the murky world where crime, conspiracy, and the juiciest gossip collide. Each episode peels back the layers of mystery, uncovering the facts, the theories, and the whispers that blur the lines between truth and fiction. Whether it's unsolved cases, mind-bending conspiracies, or the latest scandal, I bring a fresh perspective and a fearless approach to unraveling the unknown. So get ready for a wild ride where nothing is off limits, because sometimes the line between reality and rumor is a little blurred. Welcome to our deep dive episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip. We're here today. I welcome you guys back, and we are doing a deep dive today. Now, I know a lot of people going into this deep dive is kind of disturbing, so I want to go ahead and put a blanket warning. There is talk about SA as well as child neglect, child abuse, and child death. So just a fair warning for you guys. And today we are talking about the infamous Caylee Anthony and where is she now. So we're going to go over a little bit of what she's been doing. I think a lot of people know the story, and if you don't know the full story, there's numerous places to get that information. I am going to include some of the story, not all of it. I'm going to kind of go over the lies and why people call this woman the most hated woman in America. You will see why shortly. Trust me. If you don't know, now you know. But I want to just welcome you guys back. Just a couple of reminders before we get started here. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you are listening to this Blurred Lines podcast. I want to also remind you guys that we do episodes every Tuesday as well. And those are updates episode where I talk about a few cases and or also our trash talk segment. If you guys have any suggestions on cases or segments or want me to talk about something, you can always send me an email. ash2trippy@gmail.com is that email you would send it to, or you can always DM me on any of my social media platforms under ash2trippy. Or we do have a TikTok account for the podcast, which is blurred.lines and the number 5. So be sure you guys are following. I get into it a little bit more over there. If you guys don't know, I am a TikToker first and foremost, so I will be on that platform a lot of the time. That's my main platform I use. So just FYI to that, but I do check all my DMs on my Instagram, on my YouTube. You should have access to my email through there as well, and I always leave it in the show notes below as well. So let's get to it here. Again, guys, we are talking about Caylee Anthony today. Now, I have it written down here that I was going to say the case of Caylee Anthony, but this is not Caylee Anthony's case. This is a case of baby Caylee. Okay? So let's put that straight. She was the center of one of the most widely watched criminal trials in history. Almost 15 years after being acquitted of her daughter's murder, Caylee Anthony is back in the spotlight. But what has she been doing all this time, and what led to her latest public reappearance on TikTok? We're going to dive into that story here today again, guys, so buckle in. Caylee Anthony was born on March 19th, 1986, in Warren, Ohio. She became a household name in 2008 when her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee Anthony, mysteriously disappeared. As the case unraveled, the public was gripped by the details of the story, and Caylee was ultimately charged with her daughter's murder. The trial became a media sensation, with millions of Americans tuning in, waiting to hear what happened to Caylee. In the end, after a lengthy and controversial trial, the jury found Caylee not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter, and aggravated child abuse. However, she was convicted on 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison, but was released after serving just 10 days due to time served and good behavior. You heard that right. So I want to stop a little bit there and go over some of my opinions on this and some things we need to remember from when this took place. Okay. So Caylee Anthony is a habitual liar. She lies constantly. There has been numerous lies that her parents have caught her in or her friends have caught her in, and she doesn't give little lies. Her first lie to do with her daughter, Caylee, was basically the pregnancy. She didn't tell anybody for a while, and supposedly her brother didn't even know until she gave birth. She would always tell her parents she was working places she wasn't. Also, following or coming up to this point, she was also lying about sending her daughter to a nanny or having a nanny. She said that was a fabrication that she made because she didn't want the control of her parents. And ultimately, this is what ended her daughter's life, is because she wanted to be out partying and doing whatever she wanted. But she did not want the control of her parents knowing anything. In turn, she did not want her child in that situation either, or did not want to, I guess you could say, answer to her parents about her child, because they would ask. Now, she also had stole money. She had taken her grandmother's, did a bad check under her grandmother's name. She's also lied about who Caylee's father is. She's never really said. She said it was the guy she was dating at the time, but then they did a DNA test and it turns out it wasn't his. And then there was a claim that Caylee's father had actually died in a car wreck. And there's even been rumors that it was, a bunch of other men. There's been so many rumors on this, so we don't know for sure. It's just all very iffy, and it proves that Caylee is willing to lie about almost anything. Literally, though, it seems like the first year or so of Caylee's life, she was pretty present and she was pretty there. Other than still insisting on dating men, it did seem like she was present and she was there and she was able to live her life. So let's get into this a little more. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit on basically the leading up to actually finding out when Caylee was missing, how long she was missing, and exactly what happened. So apparently Casey's mother, Cindy, she had been questioning Caylee about where is Caylee at, where is she at, stuff like that. She kept telling her she was at a nanny's house and stuff like that. So she kind of backed off for a little bit. This happens within a 2-week period. And she finally is able to physically be with Caylee and see her and ask her where she's at. And then she basically admits to her mother, Cindy, that she's with the nanny. When they go and see where the nanny is, she's not there. So they're assuming, or they're putting the pieces together because they're not getting the full truth, that the nanny then kidnapped Caylee. Casey's mom, Cindy, did contact 911 3 times. On the third time she called, she told them that the nanny had the child because this is what Caylee had told her. However, the call before that was basically saying that her daughter wasn't saying where the child was at. They had picked up her vehicle from the tow yard. Her father, who is an ex-police officer, stated the car smelled of decay, of it, like a dead body. That's exactly what they said. They did find a trash bag in the trunk and they assumed it was that, but the car still reeked really bad. So that was the call prior to this with Cindy. Now, on the third call, Cindy is able to get Casey on the line, and Casey tells the operator, or the 911 operator, that she had been looking for her and going through her own resources, and she admitted it was stupid. I would still to this day like to know what resources she was going through. And so all of this evidence ended up coming in, and she was booked into prison. A few times she gained bail. She went back and forth to jail a couple of times, and this is part of the reason she didn't spend too much time in jail for like at least the false allegations, is because she was back and forth and back and forth. Now there was never evidence of any nanny. She had took the police to the apartment. She had went as far as to take the police to her old job where she didn't even work at Universal Studios. So there was a lot of stuff that had already we can tell already that this is a pathological liar, and there's something more to this story, right? Now, they did start testing the hairs that were found in the trunk of Casey's car that smelled like a dead body. They were confirmed to be Caylee's hair, and it did indicate that most likely she had passed away. So they weren't really looking for any, living, but they didn't know what exactly to expect. So it was hard. Now the skull of baby Caylee, she was only 2 years old, was found December of 2008, and it was about 2 to 3 blocks away from the Anthony home. And basically her remains were scattered in the woods. Now, I have heard stories that Casey wanted to pin the murder of her child on this guy that found him, and it just, all the pieces just finally came together. It was just a lot of back and forth and a lot of, her just denying it. She lied so much that she finally got to a point where her lying, what she was believing the lying. And that's what I feel like to this day, is even though she continues to talk about it and continues to say now the story is that her father was essaying her and then started doing it to Caylee, and she was very scared about that. That's why she left, when this wasn't the story to begin with. And listen, like, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, victim blaming or victim shaming in any way, but in these cases, if that's what happened to your daughter and you're innocent, wouldn't you just go ahead and say, something like that? There was also a fabricated story that her father was at home and Caylee had got into their pool. They had an above ground pool in their backyard, and then she had drowned, but there was no evidence of water in her lungs. They did find, however, that chloroform was used, and baby Caylee did have duct tape over her mouth and her nose area when her skull was located. That's what was stated that it looked like. So with that being said, there is also a lot of, or not a lot, but there's 2, I believe, ex-cellmates that were with Caylee Anthony, and she had stated that that's what she used to knock out her daughter so she can go out at night, was chloroform. So why not just admit? There's just so much evidence, and you've already admitted. What I've learned with Caylee Anthony, she loves media attention. She likes to be the center of attention. She likes to be a celebrity. She likes that whole persona, like when we talk about Gypsy Rose and that. And it's mind-blowing to think that she thinks so highly of her lies, that she's so innocent. But I digress. After the trial, Caylee largely kept out of the public eye, living a life of seclusion. But in 2017, she gave her first interview since the trial, speaking with the Associated Press. In the interview, she admitted to lying to the police, but also acknowledging the way the media had shaped public opinion about her. She said, "Based off what was in the media, I understand the reason people feel about me. I understand why people have the opinions that they do." Fast forward to 2020 when Caylee surprised everyone by filing paperwork to start her own private investigation business in South Florida. While some media outlets speculated that this could be an attempt to investigate Caylee's death, sources close to her insisted that this chapter of her life was closed. Still, it was clear that Caylee was moving forward in a way that few expected. So, let's dissect this a little bit. So, one, she says that the media did this to her. I'm sorry, but the media did not do this to Caylee Anthony. The media was operating on facts. The media was operating on actions. So a lot of the photos you see of Caylee partying, not all of them were done on between the time that her daughter was dead or missing, but a majority of them were. And a majority of them were within that 2 weeks that she had left her parents' house with her daughter. So it's concerning in a sense where there's not a nanny. We know there's not a nanny. There's no Zanny the nanny, Zenadiah or Zenadin. I forgot what she tried to call her. But there's no evidence of that anywhere. So who was watching? I mean, Caylee. Who was watching Caylee? That's the biggest question as well. She's never answered that. She's never said anything, but we do know from ex-cellmates that she admitted to using chloroform to knock out her child so she can then party. Now, the other thing here is she did file paperwork to open her own private investigation business. Now, that's another thing that a lot of people bring up as well is she did this, right? And that's kind of how she's coming out now as a legal advocate. A lot of people wonder, oh, well, she's going to come out and try to be like, oh, let's find who killed my daughter. Let's find who did this to her, right? No. This has never been said. She said that she closed that chapter of her life. She closed the chapter about her daughter getting murdered and not getting justice. She closed it. Doesn't that not sound like a caring, loving parent? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but to me, it just doesn't sound like that. So there is a problem with you doing that when you don't even want to advocate for that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Caylee appeared in a 3-part Peacock docuseries, Caylee Anthony, Where the Truth Lies. This marked her first television interview since the trial, and it was packed with bombshell claims. In the documentary, Caylee shockingly blamed her father, George Anthony, for Caylee's death, saying that George was the last person to see Caylee alive. She also made allegations of sexual abuse against him, which he denied. The docuseries reignited public interest in the case, but even as Caylee's past came back into the limelight, she remained largely reclusive. That is until March of 2025, which is what we're getting into now. But let's talk about that Peacock docuseries. Now, I tried to rewatch it again, but let me tell you, one, I don't have the time, and two, I don't want to listen to a bunch of lies, because what it is it's just backpedaling on everything you said, did, or tried to do, right? And again, this is now in 2022 was when that docuseries came out. So you're telling me that many years later, you're really going to continue speculating, continue doing all this. She did admit there was no nanny in this docuseries. She did also go over kind of what she's been doing as far as trying to become a legal advocate and trying to do all of that and all this nonsense. But she still blames her father. Now, her father did do a FBI approved, or I don't know what it was. It was a basically done by a professional lie detector test. He passed with flying colors. I've never suspected her father of doing that. I feel like it's just throwing him under the bus because she can't take accountability for the actions she's done, and she can't face that. And I feel like these people that pathologically lie, especially a pathological liar, because she clearly is that, right? I feel like these people literally believe their lies. Since they feel like they're such good liars, they just believe it all, right? Now, I also want to preface this before going on. All of this is alleged. She did end up getting acquitted. She was never charged. Now, a large part of why that is the way it is because she was charged with the highest charge that can be put upon her with what the evidence had, right? Now, to my understanding, and I may be saying this wrong because I try to sound smart sometimes, and sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. To my understanding, back then, the jury could, if they've had a reasonable doubt or if they could not find that she was guilty, in most cases now, right now, in a lot of states, they can downgrade to a lesser charge and recommend that to the judge. The jury can. In Casey's case back then, they could not do that. It was either, is this going to be the charge? Yes or no. Couldn't give any recommendations. Now, that's my understanding of things. And if she were to be tried today, it would differ. And she would spend some time in prison. Not the 10 days or few months she actually did between going back and forth. And a lot of people that are smarter than me have said that online as well. So I don't think I'm too far off. I may be a little off, but yeah. If you guys want to let me know, you guys can for sure. In a move that shocked many, Caylee Anthony resurfaced on TikTok. In her first video posted on March 1st, 2025, she described herself as a researcher and legal advocate. In the video, she explained that she wanted to reintroduce herself and emphasize her new goal, to advocate for others and offer legal resources. Caylee revealed that she's been working as a legal assistant since 2022 and is now focusing on giving people tools and resources they can use in the legal world. I wouldn't trust her. Just saying. But Caylee's not just using TikTok for legal advocacy, she's also promoting her Substack page and hinted that she would be communicating directly with followers through email about her legal work. In her video, she said, "I feel that it's necessary if I'm going to continue to operate as a legal advocate that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter." Insert eye roll. Almost 15 years after the infamous trial that captivated the nation, is once again making waves in the public eye. With her newfound presence on TikTok and her focus on legal advocacy, it seems she's turning a new page in her life. Indeed, it does. Indeed, it does. It just screams attention. And like I said before, she loved attention. When she was in the media and she was going through her trial and going to court dates and doing all of this, she loved it. Even the bounty hunters, so that was a big thing. The bounty hunters, the first one that let her out, was basically stating that the person that stayed with her, because somebody stayed with her to make sure that she did all her court dates because it was a whole high profile case, stated that she loved being the center of attention. She loved looking like a celebrity. She said that her white glasses, I don't know if you guys remember those white glasses that she would wear out in public. I don't know why. I remember those. She stated that she looked like Jackie O. Yeah, I don't think Jackie O ever killed anybody, so. But it's shocking to me that she didn't come out yet again and say, hey, I'm gonna advocate and see if I can find the killer of my daughter, or if she really believes her father did it, try to get him to do it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. The pieces of the puzzle ain't puzzling, you know what I mean? So if she wants to live her life like that, to each their own. So where did this leave us? The questions do still remain. Do you believe Caylee? After all these years, can you trust her version of events? And with so many still haunted by the mystery of Caylee's death, is it possible for Caylee Anthony to even truly escape the shadows of the case? What do you guys think? I believe that she cannot. She has tarnished reputation. She is not going to be able to I mean, she's good at getting off, honestly, but she had a really good lawyer as well. So it just doesn't make sense to me. But what do you guys think? Do you think she's going to be able to reinvent herself? Because it seems like a lot of these people end up reinventing themselves. It's crazy to think about it, but they do. And it's insanity. We have Gypsy Rose. We have what was the one? What was the girl from the Netflix series Anna? And the one that scammed a bunch of people. You have all these scammers out here, all these people that have done wrong that are coming back like nothing ever happened. It's like trying to have a conversation with a narcissistic person. It's like they just come back without saying sorry or anything like that, and they're just like, hey, what's up? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing wrong. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Again, I do believe that Casey has a lot to do with her daughter's death. Again, I can't say that for certain, but the evidence all points to it. And to me, evidence doesn't lie. It really doesn't, especially in this case. Everything is just the framework of everything, things she was doing while her daughter was supposedly missing, and things that she wasn't doing, like when she was going to the store, she didn't buy anything for Casey, things like that. It's insanity. All right, guys, so a couple of corrections on today's episode. I did state throughout the episode that Casey had been gone from her parents for 2 weeks. However, it had actually been 30 days that baby Caylee was actually missing for. So it was 30 days, even though I said 2 weeks. I apologize. I know there was a 2-week time frame that her parents were suspicious, and that's what I meant. I also want to let you guys know that keeping Caylee and Casey separate, sometimes my brain just wasn't doing it. So if sometimes I did say Casey when I meant Caylee, I apologize. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. But again, I want to know what you guys think. So let me know what you guys think. I know there's not too many people that are for Caylee Anthony coming back and giving other people legal advice to get off on their crimes, because that's the way we see it as the public eye. Just telling the truth. That's the way it's being seen as of right now. Okay. So what do you guys think, though? Do you think she can reinvent herself? Do you think that she's able to get rid of that? Or do you think she's able to get people to accept what she says? Because it's hard to be a pathological liar your whole life and then all of a sudden want people to trust you. You know what I mean? So, well, that's all I have for you guys today. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you're listening to, and leave comments. Send me an email if you have any comments even about this episode. Maybe we'll talk about it in the updates episode on Tuesday. But be sure you guys are subscribed on all platforms. Be sure you follow me, and I'll be back at you on Tuesday with a brand new updates episode. You guys have a wonderful day, wonderful week, wonderful rest of your month, and stay positive. We'll talk about it next time. Bye, guys. This has been a Trippy Studios production. Thank you guys so much for listening, and till next time, we'll talk about it, guys.